Hi, I'm Rabbi Kenigsberg from Magen Avot in Hendon. Thank you to Jami for the opportunity to present the sermon as part of Mental Health Awareness Shabbat 5782. Darkness can come in many forms. There is physical darkness, such as that which occurred in the penultimate of the 10 plagues. For several days, the Egyptians were engulfed in a reality in which they could not see even their closest surroundings. At its peak, they could not even move. And then there is a darkness which envelops the mind, even when surrounded by broad daylight. A darkness which pervades one's emotions and intellect, which precludes the ability to think clearly. A darkness that finds its expression in feelings of confusion, of uncertainty, and of inner turmoil. And perhaps it's precisely this latter form of darkness that the Jewish people themselves experienced through the bitterness of slavery long before any of those plagues even began. In last week's Torah portion, we read how when Moshe first approached Bnei Israel with the great tidings of redemption, their response was underwhelming. They did not listen to Moshe due to their shortness of breath, due to their hard labor. They didn't listen because they were unable to hear. They were in a state of emotional darkness that would not permit them to look to the future. One could understand the words in the verse Kotzer Ruach as referring to a literal shortness of breath due to the back-breaking labor. Or perhaps, as the great commentator, the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, suggests, these words may refer to a narrow and constricted mind, to an inability to process those words due to a state of mental confusion, one that was brought about as a direct result of those impossible circumstances in which they found themselves then. Over the past 2 years, so many amongst us have again been shrouded in darkness. Continued isolation has served to exacerbate already existing mental health challenges. How can we now move from darkness back into light? How can we improve the plight of our friends, our neighbors, our colleagues, our fellow community members, as we become increasingly aware of the strains on mental health that this pandemic has wrought on us all? In her book about facing adversity and building resilience, titled Option B, Sheryl Sandberg discusses classic experiments on stress. Experiments where people were required to perform tasks such as problem solving, tasks that required concentration, but while simultaneously being blasted with loud and disturbing noises. The participants began to make mistakes. Some of them gave up entirely. And then the researchers provided them with a way to alleviate the stress. They gave some of the participants a button that they could press. And when they pressed that button, the noises would stop. Predictably, as we might have guessed, those who had the button indeed performed better on all the tasks. But there was a remarkable and surprising fact, which was that not a single participant actually pressed the button. Simply knowing that it was there was what allowed them to remain calm and focused. And so Sandberg concludes, when people are in pain, they need a button. If we as individuals and as a community acknowledge that mental health is not taboo, if we ensure that we are there to listen, that can provide a button that so many desperately need. And if we ourselves are in need of that button, so let us have the courage to press it. Initiatives such as this Shabbat are there to make it plain for all to see that we as a society are willing to talk about mental health, that we are ready to drop the stigmas, that we have finally understood that nobody should suffer in silence. Of course, it doesn't end there. Mental illness cannot cure itself. We should avail ourselves of the services within our community and encourage others to seek the professional help where it is needed. But it begins with a listening ear. It begins with a recognition that the challenges are real and with the commitment that we will do our utmost to come together to help solve them. Going back to that plague of darkness, the Torah tells us. Regarding the Egyptians, at Lora no man could see his brother. The first Gera Rebbe, the Chidushei Harim, explained that far beyond a simple description of the darkness that occurred as a result of that plague, these words should be understood as a cause for the ultimate darkness in our world, when no man can see his fellow, when no one looks around at others, when each individual looks only at the I, but is oblivious to the you. Where all are left to fend for themselves, such an attitude can only create the darkest of all places. But this mental health awareness Shabbat let us pledge to banishing that darkness and to replacing it with light. Let us commit to talk and to listen, to encourage, to be encouraged. Let us provide the help that we are able to, and let us seek the help that we need, safe in the knowledge that our community is there, willing and able to provide it. Shabbat Shalom.